So I think 1 second. Yeah. So we completed 3 sessions on always on with these questions. Okay, so I think most of the questions are related to real time and also kind of interview questions from I would say from 4 to 5 years to experienced people. So I don't know about freshers. Basically, I don't know what they ask. So that's why I'm not so good at uh, pointing out the questions, especially from 1 to 5. So I don't know the expectations, but just the reason I'm just giving everything. So it is up to you to take what is required. That is my intention. Not like that I have to discuss only the high level topics. I just wanted to share, and you can pick them up based on your needs. Okay, so let's move on. So I think I stopped at this question. What happens if I don't use multi-subnet failure equal to true for your connection strings in AG? So if you don't use, obviously you will get timed out most of the times. So if you don't use multi-subnet failure equal to true, what happens? Application, you will see always on connection timeout errors. They will not be able to connect. And if you don't know that, if you should be aware as a DBA, you should suggest them saying that in your application connection strings, you have to make use of multi-subnet failure equal to true. If you have multi-subnet always on availability groups. If that is not the case, definitely sometimes they will hit this error. So that's the only suggestion as a DBA what we can pass. Apart from the other things what we can check, that's a different story. So any questions like the questions what you are seeing on my screen, I hope you are able to, I mean, people who continued from the beginning, definitely they will be able to answer these questions for sure, but who joined only for this session or maybe previous sessions, there might be few questions like they wanted to know. If that is the case, yeah, you can ask me or else I will continue just for few minutes. It is 4:36, right? So I can just wait for 4 more minutes for me to continue. If no questions, I will continue right away. Okay.
So we run CheckDB on primary replica mostly, right?
Yeah, we will run on primary. See, you have the answer should be something like this. That's the reason I pointed out these questions. So your answer should be smart enough. So say something like, if my databases are very huge in size, and if it is very OLTP bound, means your transactions will have higher number of what can I say, users, transactions per second. If it is high number of batch requests per second or a high number of transactions per second, then if you start doing CheckDB on our primary, and imagine your primary is 24/7 application, very important, critical application. Imagine that is your situation. If that is the case, you should not be running your CheckDBs on your primary, right? Because you will create, CheckDB will consume resources for sure. It will consume IO mostly, and it will consume some CPU. So if that is the case, instead of hampering the primary, you should run on secondary. But if your databases are small, then you can think of running CheckDB on primary. So pass the answers completely so that the interviewer can pick them up rightly, right? If I say in both the ways, right? Like what I'm saying, okay, I will do this if they are small. I will not do this if they are big. Only I will do this when it is necessary on primary. So I've given the 3 answers. So there is nothing left for us, right? So that's the way you should answer. Don't always say, okay, yes or no. This is not a kind of discussion like yes or no. This is exchange of ideas. Interviews is nothing but exchange of ideas. That should be the first principle that you should remember. You should pass on whatever the things that you are aware to the interviewer in a positive manner, not in a fight manner. Like just say plainly and softly saying that, okay, these are the pros and these are the cons when it comes to running on primary, something like that. Okay, so the basic question. Yeah, Surya, you raised your hand. Something.
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to add one question into that particular CheckDB question. So, like, suppose there is some sort of latency, like we are assuming 5 to 15 minutes of latency, and in that case, if someone wants to do the check DB on the secondary node. Meanwhile, something went wrong on the primary. So does that fulfill our requirement, like performing the check
One
DB on?
second. Let's break this question. So
Yeah.
first is latency. What is latency? Like application team is not able to reach to primary or secondary.
Uh, like there is a latency in the movement of data from primary to secondary, I would say.
Okay, so latency is not from the application end. Latency is between the replicas. Correct?
Okay, correct.
I mean, yeah. So that's how you should break the question. If the same question is, if think that you are the interviewer, I am the candidate, so I will break my questions, because without breaking, I will not be able to answer your question for sure. So that's how you should impress the interviewer. So I am breaking now. So if you say latency, first question is it the latency from the application to the database, or it is between the replicas? That will be my first question. So your answer is it is between the replicas, right? So next
Right.
question, is it synchronous or asynchronous?
I would let's assume it's asynchronous.
Asynchronous. So asynchronous, definitely we can expect some latency on your secondaries, right? When you are querying the data from your secondaries, definitely there will be some latency compared to synchronous, because asynchronous, as you know how it works, so I don't need to discuss about that. Okay, so the latency is when between the replicas, and you are saying asynchronous. So by that I can say it is expected behavior, right? What is that you are expecting more from it?
So if like in case of asynchronous environment, if we are going ahead and performing the check DB, like will the requirement of running the check DB fulfilled in that case?
CheckDB, as I told you, you can run on any replicas. But what I am trying to conclude here is the best practice says, okay, at least you should run CheckDB once on primary. Okay, why?
Okay.
So if I ask you why, your answer should be the storage is different on each replica, right? The storage, the drives. So when you are configuring always on, you have drives. You have drives like, for example, K, L, J, M, whatever it is. So it is on primary. So that is only attached to primary. That storage is not, it's not a shared storage, right? So if you
Right.
get any disk level issues, if you get any disk level issues, how will you identify those disk level issues? I know always on do support automatic page repair and all those things, but still
Right.
there are few errors that cannot be figured out without running CheckDB. Okay, there are few things that can be done automatically with the help of automatic page repair, but there are certain things that can be identified only if you run CheckDB. Okay, so if that is the case, if there is some kind of issues at the disk level, how will you identify that, right? So that is my
Right.
question. So at least if you can run CheckDB once on primary, maybe once in a month if your databases are bigger, or maybe once in 15 days if your databases are smaller. So I will come to know, okay, there are no disk level issues. I will ensure that there are no disk level issues on my primary replica. So that is my intention. That is the reason behind this question. You can run CheckDB only on secondaries, provided if you have license. Again, there is one more thing that you have to discuss, licensing part. So if you don't have license, you can't run it. From 2019, you can do. Leaving out the 2019, I think the previous versions, I think there are some restrictions when it comes to licensing part. If you have license, software assurance license, then you can run it, right?
Right. Right. Thank you.
So yeah, that's why I said ask questions to the interviewers also, because if you ask me the same question, so it's not that I have to answer your question. Break your questions and get the information and just pass them what you are aware. That's it. Okay, so let's move on. So the next question obviously will be my replicas are not in good state, means they are not in healthy state, not in green color. To be very, I mean, to make you understand, it's not in green color, some red colors, not able to reach, blah, blah, blah. So what will be the series of steps that you will perform? From where will you start? Usually they will ask, right, my replica is not able to connect to the another replica, or my databases are not in sync, whatever it is. So from how will you answer this question? Like from where will you start? The troubleshooting methodology. This question will be there from the beginners to the experience for sure.
First check the
Yeah.
nodes in cluster.
Yes, first check the nodes in the cluster. Okay. So if the nodes are not healthy, what will be the reason? I mean, this is how the interviewers will cross question you, right? Okay, if you say nodes, they will ask you what might be the reason. So if that is the case, what will you explain? I mean, don't think bad. So we are just discussing. That's it. Okay.
So check the cluster events.
Yeah, we'll check the cluster events and see if the nodes are healthy or not. Imagine if one of your nodes are not in a good shape. Okay, they are not healthy. So if that is the case, what will you do? Yeah, what you said is right. First, you have to check the Windows failover cluster. That should be our first step. Check the nodes are being up and running. That is our basic, and that should be our first step when you are investigating any always on errors. Okay, so imagine you got some errors when you open up the node and the node is not healthy. In that case, what will you do? Will you fail over or will you do anything else? Yeah. Sorry.
Depending on the error, we will take action, right?
That is the right answer. Depending on the environment, we should take a call. So if you're not worked on always on, but still wanted to answer something, okay, you can definitely project yourself some things which you have not done in interviews, right? You can do. Even though you have not worked in real time, doesn't matter. If you are good enough to project yourself, then that is fine. Interviewer doesn't know whether you have really worked on it or not. So if that is the case, you can just talk about quarantine. Okay, sorry. So nodes will go into quarantine state. Okay, so that will happen from 2016 or 2012 R2, some Windows 2012 R2 or some Windows 2, I think 2016 if I'm not wrong. From Windows 2016. Yeah, Windows 2016 you will get this quarantine state. So okay, imagine I am telling you guys, this is the real time issue that happened with me. Okay, I got a call. This is what I have written. I got a call early morning 6:30. I was sleeping happily, and I got a call saying that the principal or the primary is not able to contact. I mean, the application team is not able to reach the primary replica. So this is the scenario. So don't straight away do and go fail over, not this, that. Okay, stop there. So if that is the case, first thing first, even for interview purpose or when you're investigating, this should be our series of steps when you're investigating any cluster issues. I mean, always on issues. So first thing, whether the nodes are up and running. So in my case, that is not the case. This is my primary, and that primary replica itself went into quarantine state. Okay, if that is the case, you should talk something about when it will go into quarantine state and what is quarantine state. Okay, so of course you can read any blog. I'm not saying that you have to read my blog. You can read any blog. Okay, so you can read what is about quarantine and say that in my case, I got one of the nodes into quarantine state, but I read somewhere before itself what is quarantine state, and I got some good knowledge on quarantine. So I just ran this command, start-cluster node clear quarantine. I just ran this command, and my primary was back up and running, and end users were able to connect to my primary replica. That's it. Done. So we are done with one of the interview questions, which definitely impresses the interviewer, because many of the people doesn't know what is quarantine state when it comes to nodes. And this happens only from Windows 2016. So if you are saying this answer, it means that you are reading the things that are happening right now on the in the market, and you are up to date, right? So that gives a good impression for you. So that is what. So first I will check whether the nodes are up and running. So if that is up and running, that's fine. So what should be my next step? Let's continue. Obviously, I will check if the networking is working fine or not, right? So if the networks are not able to reach from your primary to secondary, it's not my problem. I have to involve my infrastructure team, whomever it is, whether Windows team, AD team, or network team, whatever it is. I have to involve my infrastructure team. So first I will check whether the failover cluster is in a good shape by checking the nodes and by checking the networks. And if the nodes are not healthy, definitely you can talk about this state. So that gives an extra mileage for you. If that is not the case, check about the networks. If the networks are in good shape, then we are good with failover cluster. Means the nodes are up and running and the network is in good shape. So what next? Come down. So you have to come one level down now. So what you can think of now?
Then check the always on extended events.
Then check the always on extended events. So before before I move on to always on extend events. So first I will check whether the replicas are getting connected from primary to secondary. All the replicas are in connected state or not. Because the problem, if it happens at replica level, all the databases will get affected, right? So if it happens at node level, definitely all the databases within that node will get impacted. And if it happens between the networks, this network can't talk to this network. So that is one more thing. Third step is between the replicas. All the replicas should be in connected state. If one replica is not able to talk to another replica, then that means there lies some problem. So what could be the reasons for one replica not able to contact to another replica? So that will be the next question. Right? This is how like we are troubleshooting and we are discussing. What could be the reasons for one replica for not able to communicate with another replica?
Permission
Maybe
issues.
firewall issue.
Firewall issue is one thing. So if there is anything happened at network level,
Yeah.
they might have changed or implemented some new rules. So definitely that will affect our availability groups. That is one thing. Firewall rules. And someone said permissions. So what permissions are you talking about? Just go
Connect
ahead.
permissions of
Yeah, connect permissions for what?
service account.
Yeah, service account. We need not give sysadmin permissions for our service account. The service account should have connect permissions on our endpoints. Okay, if that is missing, there are chances for one replica for not able to contact the another replica. That is second thing. What next? Any other answers? So one more answer that you can think of is endpoints. If the endpoints, definitely they will be in started state for sure. If for some reason, if they goes into stopped state, endpoints is the main thing. That is the main mechanism through which one replica can communicate with another replica. It's the endpoint that is delivering the information from the replicas, right? If the endpoint is not able to reach, I mean, if the endpoint is stopped for some reason, we don't know the reason for it. If the endpoints are not able to communicate between the replicas, then there will be a problem. So I will check the status of the endpoint. That should be our next answer. What next? Anything else?
NT other D set, right?
NT authority slash system, usually when you add the database, then when you are failing over, then you will get this issue, but all of a sudden it doesn't introduce any issues. So if you want that, you can check the video of mine. I don't know where it is. So somewhere it should be. Yeah, it is there on my video. Troubleshooting always on. I have 3-part series. So I think it is here. So you can check in this part. So when NT authority will affect is I had discussed here. What next? Replicas not able to communicate. Anything else that we can think of? And I think if I'm not wrong, I have done a scenario where I changed the algorithm for the endpoints. Okay, usually no one will touch those algorithms, so that will not be a case. But if you wanted to project yourself different from others, okay, this is an extra step. So you can say if the algorithms are not in the same, if the algorithms are not the same, then there are chances for replica not able to communicate with another replica. So that is also one more probability. So that is the final thing what we can think of. Like these are the 4 things. What are the things? One is endpoint stopped or started state. That is one thing. Second thing is permissions for the service account. You should have connect permissions on the endpoints. And the third thing is firewall, which is very important. And usually that is the main bottleneck if it happens all of a sudden. And the fourth thing is the algorithms. Algorithms has to match up on the primary and the secondary replicas. That is the fourth thing. Okay, so yeah, those are the 4 reasons. And now coming down to replicas are looking fine. So only the databases are the problems. If that is the case, what will be the problems with the database? You are getting my point, right? I'm moving from the cluster to the database level. So if you can answer like this, so it means that you know about entire always on. You know how to troubleshoot when the problem appears. Problems with database. So what could be the reasons with for only one database to be out of sync. Usually it will not happen, but there are chances for one database to go out of sync from the always on. So what could be the reasons for a database to go out of sync?
Log file issue, log file full issue. Right.
Yeah, so log file has become full all of a sudden due to some transactions being fired from application end. That is one thing. Yeah, that is probably the best answer. Any other answers? Your good name, like one who said log file.
Gayatri.
Gayatri. Okay. Thanks, Gayatri. So what else? So I've, as I told you, in this, I've given different troubleshooting steps, how to introduce the errors, and I've shown how to work on those errors as well. So one more thing is, imagine if you're adding a TDE database, means that database is just a normal database when you added that to always on. So now you got a requirement saying that you have to enable encryption on that database. If that is the case, if the steps are not being done properly, definitely your databases will, that database, not databases, that database will be out of sync on your secondary replicas. So that I have discussed in this 3-part series. You can watch that also. And if you are on 2022, then there is one special scenario that comes up. That is something at configuration manager that I can, that I have discussed here also. So you can, if you wanted to give that extra mileage, yes, you can say that issue also. That is 2022 special thing. It happens only on 2022, not on other always on versions. I mean SQL versions. Okay, so that is one more thing. So log file full is one thing. Second thing is adding a TDE database to always on. That is the second thing. What else? What could be the reasons for database being out of sync? Anything else that you can think of? This is very tricky, and some people might ask you questions on this.
When database go into pass mode, I mean to say suspended.
Why will we all of a sudden it goes into suspend state? If we suspend, then that is a different story. If there is no human intervention, then when it goes into suspend state? I think in my blog itself I have written one thing. I'm not sure.
When sometimes suddenly when we are in shift and the customer requested that you want, I mean, add this one extra MDF file, and that, but that one path is not there in the secondary replica. That might be also one scenario.
Okay, so when you are adding, you got a disk issue and you thought of adding a file to it, and the file paths are not same on the primary and secondary replica. If that is the case, there are chances for the database to go into out of sync. Yes, that is 100% true. There is one more thing that comes for you guys that is very important. So these are the things. So this is about health detection. How many of you are aware of health detection? There is something, right? When you are okay, let me show you that something. If I say something, it will be like that only. Always on SQL Server health detection. Let's go to the images. I can show you what I'm talking about.
Database level health detection.
Yeah. So I'm talking about this option, guys. Database level health detection. What happens if you uncheck it, and what happens if you check it? What is the role of this option?
So for example, if we are having 10 databases in AG, okay, if we not select this option, if anything happens for one database, it will fail out for all the databases. For all entire AG will fail out to another replica. If we select this option, only the problematic database will try to get failover.
Do you think that is good or that is bad?
In some scenarios it will be good, in some scenario it's all depends upon the environment. So for example, if my database is having like one of database is having very huge, okay, so at that time I don't want to take that risk to fail over entire entire database AG into another replica, so I would prefer this option. If my database is very small and it's have ability to quickly fail over at that time. So I can select this option.
Okay, okay, it's okay. Let's discuss in another manner. So
Okay.
if one database gets failed over to another replica and other databases are sitting on primary replica, so what about the listener in such case?
Hmm.
How will you connect? Imagine Gmail is kind of application. So in Gmail, I have inbox, send mail, compose mail, drafts. Treat each one of them as one database. Okay, inbox is one database, compose mail is one database, something like that. Okay, so if that is the case, if one of the databases gets migrated to another node, so that on that node, that database will be primary, and rest of the databases will be primary on the other node, right? Other replica.
Okay.
So how will you handle that situation?
So here the listener action is just whenever it will whenever the traffic comes, the listener identify which is the primary replica for which database. So it will redirect to that database to that data using the option called update ability.
Okay, I think we are going somewhere out, but I will
Okay.
stop here. Okay,
Okay.
so there is one more important thing, guys. So if you are as name Harsha, as Harsha said,
Yes.
so this option is to fail over one database. If something went wrong with that particular database, yes, then if you enable that option, this database will automatically gets replicated to another replica. But you have to keep this in your mind. Imagine there are 6 databases. All 6 databases belong to one application. Okay, if one database gets failed over to another node and rest of the databases are sitting on the primary replica, so there will be always some difficulty handling these kind of situations. So if you ask me, as I will say, it depends upon the situation. As Harsha told, it depends upon the situation. That should be a nice answer when dealing with these kind of questions. Okay, this is a tricky question, and if someone asks you about this question, better you read out this article and come back, because even I have to read. There are, as you can see, there are caveats here. Okay, so and also it doesn't fail over automatically. There are conditions. So these are the conditions. So if these condition happens in your scenarios, then that database will get failed over. So this is very rare. This is very rare to happen. And if you see log corruption, so usually log corruption happening. I mean, it's very rare to see this event. And one more thing is checkpoint failures, page or allocation corruption. If that is the case, then if you check this box, that database will get failed over to another replica. So these are the cases when it gets failed over to another replica. And these events will not happen that easily. Okay, so watch out for this. And I don't think people will ask questions on this topic, but this is one more scenario where the database might be healthy on one node and might not be healthy on another node. So these are few things what I can think of. So if there is anything else, any situation that you have encountered, you can share with us. Anyone?
Yeah, bro. I have two situations to share. Can I?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we are having like 50 databases on one server, which is part of Always On. So suddenly it's like at the evening. So we are all the databases will get disconnected, and we will get an email like every 5 minutes. It will email will get get like flood
Okay.
like with these kind
Databases.
of emails.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So generally, what we will do, I will do. Why? Because we are having dealing like 40 clients, so we don't spend much time actually. If we get time and we will do some R&D, I mean, we will let. But in the reality,
Hmm.
okay, so we will wait for some time, and we will, I mean,
So
uh,
I'm
we
stopping
will
here.
have, yeah.
So you are getting alerts, and once you went into the server, by that time all the databases will be in
Yes,
fixed state.
exactly.
Okay.
So like that, it will went for 1 week. So customer is also got frustrated. So why it's happening? I need some RCA. So
Hmm.
after that only we took that seriously, and we found out that okay, from this point of time to this point of time we are getting alerts. So just find out, and we went out like what is happening on the server. So at that time, we identified that update statistics were running statistics were running for that reason, and some rebuilding operations are going on. For that reason, log backup is generating was like very much high. Due to that reason, okay, all the databases went into disconnected state. Once that log backup and update statistics were completed, and every data, all the databases coming into the sync mode only. This is the issue we identified and informed. So like that, after identifying this, okay, customer got, okay, let's we can schedule some other time, or otherwise we can schedule the update statistics and other things some other time, like weekends. This is how we can avoid this issue. And one more thing is, I don't know why, so on Sunday we have one customer. So customer is having like 25 replicas. So if any he always having he has to run all the replicas and prefer replicas on the primary. He has some list of commands, some list of replicas. So he want to run only on these replicas. I don't know why, but is it requirement? So every Sunday we have to log in on each system, and we need to check the availability. Okay, is all the availabilities is running on primary replica or not? So I developed some query. So some at every Sunday I have given some commands. Okay, these are the primary replicas, and if availability groups are not running on these preferred replicas, in the email we have to get one report like not matched. So by instead of going each and every replica, so whenever I see that not matched replica, I will go to the respect to that and I will fail over, and I will drop that email. So all these replicas are running on preferred nodes, and everything is good as of now. Yeah.
Okay, so what Harsha is saying, there are two scenarios he would like to share. So first thing is, first scenario, as he said, few databases are getting out of sync from the primary to the secondary, and after few seconds or few minutes it is coming in sync automatically. He has not done anything, it is coming online, or it is coming into sync automatically. So upon investigation he found that it's happening because of index rebuilds and update statistics, right? Update stats, yeah, update stats and log backups. And so they separated the schedule of them, and that issue got resolved. And the second thing is, so I will make this into a better conversation, Harsha. So imagine you have a scenario where you need to do Windows patching, or Windows team has to do patching, Windows patching. Okay, so I have a scenario where one replica should run on node 1, not replica, availability group. One availability group should run on node 1. Okay, and the another availability group should run on node 2. So that is how I place my databases. 3 databases on one replica and 3 databases in another replica. Okay, so second node should host 3 databases and first node should host 3 databases. So the first node should act as primary for those initial 3 databases, and 4, 5, 6 databases should act as primary on node 2. Okay, it should be like that. That is the requirement. And at the time of patching, what will you do? So if at the time of patching you will fail over from node 1 to node 2, not you, Windows team has to do this action. So they will involve DBS, right? So that they will be patching their Windows server, they will ask you to fail over. Okay, so you failed it over from node 1 to node 2. So on the node 2 we have 2 availability groups running now. Okay, after the failover, then you will fail back and you will do the same thing for node 2 also, right? For some reason, if you forgot to fail over, means node 1 should have 1, 2, 3 and node 2 should have 4, 5, 6. What will happen? The burden will be there on that particular replica, right? If all the databases are running on one particular replica, definitely you will see a problem with your resources. If that is the case, how will you fail over automatically? There should be some kind of report, right? That's what Harsha is talking about. He should have some kind of report that should help me to find out where the replica is primary right now. And that is not the dedicated replica, we should fail over. So kind of thing. So if that is the case, I'm throwing this scenario. What will you do in such case? Oh, I think it's a big question. Did you get my question first before I answer?
Yes.
Others like Gayatri or anyone else? So this happens in real time. This is a kind of requirement that pops up. Okay. So something like this, we can correlate.
Vamshi, we can create a job with specifying script that it will trigger that these are the particular AOAG that availability group is not in that particular
Exactly.
what is replica.
So
We
it
can
should
trigger
be
like that.
something like this, guys. So I have the script with me. Of course, this is the older script. I have the better script now. So if that you have to say, I developed some PowerShell script. Okay, they will not answer. Like they will not ask you like what you are written inside the PowerShell script. Okay, it's not possible. Even if you ask me what I have written inside the PowerShell, no, it's not possible for me to say what are the DMVs and all. So you just say I just made use of certain DMVs and I pulled out the report. I know how to make use of PowerShell. It says that you are good at PowerShell also. That is what my intention is. So just say that you have developed some PowerShell script to identify where the replicas are right now. If that is not the dedicated replica, it will show us in a color coded format, maybe red or green based on your situation, something like this. Okay, if that is not the dedicated node, you should get some alert like this. Just say some stories. It's fine. As long as you are dealing with situation in a good manner, it doesn't matter. So no one will ask you what you have written inside that PowerShell script. No, that's not possible. Okay, so that is one more thing. And I thought of showing something. What is that? Yeah. What are the different logs that we can think of when it comes to always on? So definitely error logs, we all know error logs is the best place to start with. And there is one separate always on health event sessions, external event session that will be there. You need not do anything, guys. This comes automatically. Again, I repeat, you need not do anything. Once you install always on availability, once you configure availability groups, this comes into picture. Just check the information inside the always on health sessions, extended events health session. Even if you're not done, okay, it's fine. Just say these answers. If you say this answer, definitely interviewer feels that you have worked something on this. We don't know whether you have really worked or not, but at least if you can say these answers, it's fine. So if you want to have better answers, then you can say system health session events. Of course, I hope everyone is aware of system health session extend events. That is one more place. And there is one thing called as SQL diagnostic extend event files. This will be there on primary replica. I repeat, this will be there on primary replica. You can use it for investigation purpose. I just made use of it for a couple of times. So you can check these files also. All these three files are external events. Okay, three external events are there for always on. One is always on health session. The other one is SQL diagnostic external events and system health session. Three external events are there to check what's happening with our always on. And finally, everyone knows Windows cluster logs. So Windows cluster logs is also one more place where I need to check what's happening between the servers. So if you can say 5 different places that you will look into when troubleshooting, that's it. Story ends. So definitely that will impress the interviewers. So that is the intention. So now starting with the question, so you will start at node levels, see if the nodes are up and running, and see if there are any network partitions, because if the network is not able to reachable from one DC to another data center, there might be some problems. So you have to involve the network team. So node levels, network level, replica level, then finally at the database level, and different logs what you will check. So these are the things. If you can talk completely about this, if you talk like this, it's gone. Like, I mean, definitely you will definitely succeed, right? What is stopping us from succeed if you say or something like this? Any questions? The next question, common question: how will you check the failover history for always on?
Yeah, for that, I found a script in your blog only.
No. See, this
Yes.
is not the answer, right? Failover history is something that you have to maintain, guys. I mean, from when to when. So from one replica to another replica, when it got failed over, what was the last replica and what was the current replica, previous replica and current replica. So you can say, just say that there are some DMVs. I will extract that information from DMVs. I will add some code to that. I can get it. Even if you're not done, it doesn't matter. So just say that there are DMVs and I will make use of some PowerShell scripts to fetch that. If I wanted to get run across all the servers, if someone is asking you to pull the report across all the servers, your answer should be PowerShell. Okay, just say PowerShell. And if they wanted to have something on specific server, then you can say some DMVs for always on. I'm talking about always on.
And otherwise, we can, we can use your script and we can create one table and we by
Yeah, you
our
can load the
base or
information into
yes,
table,
yes,
and you can fetch that information into table as well. So
yes.
these are all the easy things. The solutions are there in front of you, but you are not just exploring them. That's what I'm taking this session. That's the reason for it. Okay. So what else on always on? So I will just stop on always on. I will just continue with some other stuff. Same interview questions only. So imagine your question is on high CPU usage. Common interview question, high CPU usage. What will be the best answers? I want the best answers to discuss here.
So, yeah, can I?
Yeah, I will just wait for
Yeah.
others. Let's
Okay.
wait for it. High
Bro,
CPU usage.
I just shared one website, one video of mine. So where I developed step by step. Actually, I'm not good at HTML, but I went by requirement. Step by step, and I like that I have developed. I thought sharing to here might helpful for others.
Yeah, sure.
And I have one more question. God fight me with my other friends. So how we can know which database or which user fail over from this replica to this replica? I googled it, but I didn't find any answer. But when I done the practice and I came to know we can find it through the extended events by that event name called like always on DDL changes. Using this, we came to know, which user it got failover.
No, Harsha's intention is who performed the failover. So if someone asks you when it was done, it's a different story. Who has performed the failover from one replica to another replica? So he's talking about that question. Okay, so Harsha, I think I need to mute you, Harsha, because others are sitting silently. I don't know. So that's why I wanted to talk with others.
Harsha, please check event ID 19406. Might be help us.
I don't know that numbers and all. Yeah, so it's fine.
19406. 19406.
Okay, maybe
19406. Okay, I
that
will
might
check
be
that.
there.
Yeah.
Let's discuss about high CPU. So it's a common interview question like, okay, I'm seeing high CPU right now. So what will be your steps? Right? Let's discuss. So as I told you, this is very important, guys, in real time as well as when you are answering the questions. So if I say high CPU happened when you are not there in the shift and you just came to shift and now you wanted to troubleshoot what caused the high CPU. That is one scenario. And if the issue is happening right now, that is one more scenario. So there are two scenarios. If someone asks you what happened in the past and what's happening right now, so the answers will be different in both the cases. You have to remember this very carefully. Okay. The situation that happened in the past. So if I say happened in the past, don't give blunt answer saying that, okay, I will run activity monitor, I will run SP who2, something else. As I told you, it is not happening now. Again and again, I'm repeating, it's not happening now. It happened already. You are not there. So it's in the past. When something happened in the past, how to pull the information? That is what I'm asking.
We use
Using
monitoring.
third-party tools.
Third-party monitoring tools.
Yes. Just say, I will make use of monitoring tools. If it is there or not, doesn't matter, right? Just say, I will make use of monitoring tools. That is a smart answer. Okay. That should be your answer. Even for blockings, if someone says, okay, blocking happened when you are not there. Again, I repeat, not there. So when you are not there, your answer should be monitoring tools. Okay. Just say you have Idera or maybe some other SolarWinds or something else. Okay. I will check my monitoring tool and I will find out that information. That's enough. No one is asking you how to the series of steps. Okay. If it is happening right now, then there are certain things that you have to perform. So in such case, yes, you can make use of your activity monitor, or maybe you can run some DMVs or SP who2s, your favorite SP who2. If someone says SP who2, I will just like, oh God. Okay, at least say SP who is active. That is the best.
Yeah, that one is
not
good.
at least. It should be the best. It is the best. Okay. The best thing
Who
is
is
SP who is active. because it gives me the queries information also, and it gives me how much time it is running and what are the wait stats and blocking information, CPU usage, everything, whatnot. So that is the complete package. If someone asks you what is happening right now, you should say SP who is active. That should be the best answer. Don't give activity monitor or DBCC input buffer SP who to. Sorry. Okay. So for freshers, it is accepted. Once you cross that 4 or 5 years of experience, fed up. I'm just fed up with those answers. If someone says that answers, then straight away I will get an impression that, okay, this guy is not making use of the right tools. Okay, just say SP who is active. And for the events that happened in the past, you have to say monitoring tools. Okay, those are the two smart answers. Let's discuss now high CPU usage. So there are certain steps. Okay, so if you can answer these steps in a better manner, definitely it will help us to crack the interview. So let's discuss this, okay, in a better manner. So as I told you, first of all, first thing, if someone asks you SQL Server is causing high CPU usage, it has to be SQL Server.exe. Okay, that should be our first step, guys. Because in real time, you will be using some antivirus softwares, or you can use any other softwares that may cause high CPU. It might not be the SQL Server.exe. It could be some other .exe that is causing high CPU on the DB server. So first you have to investigate whether SQL Server.exe is really contributing to high CPU usage. That should be our first step when you are dealing with these kind of scenarios. You got my point? Any questions with this first step?
No.
Very clear, right? So don't go into conclusion that, okay, someone is saying high CPU, got some alert saying that, okay, high CPU. Okay, don't go into conclusion that it is SQL Server always. No, there are cases where SQL Server might not be the contributor. It could be something else, antivirus, or what is that? Some other tools. What we call Carbon Black. We are using this Carbon Black. Some kind of defenders. I don't know what exactly are those. So they will sometimes use high CPU. Okay, so your first step is, I will investigate whether SQL Server.exe is the real contributor. Okay, how will you check whether SQL Server.exe is the real contributor? When it happened in the past and it is happening right now. Again, for every step, we have to discuss two things. When happened in the past and it is happening right now. So what will be your answer? When happened in the past?
So if it is come to in the past, so we can check that in the monitoring tool. But I'm especially from SQL Server, we can check this info from using the ring buffer.
Exactly.
In the ring,
I will stop here. I will stop here. So I mean, Harsha, I'm not rude to you. I'm just stopping because I wanted to continue.
No, bro, I know. Yeah.
Yeah. So if it happened in the past, okay, if it happened in the past, first answer, as I told you, monitoring tools. Just say monitoring tools. If he is not satisfied with the monitoring tool, then just say inside the SQL Server itself, we can go back up to 4 hours. 4 hours CPU history can be, we can find out 4 hours CPU history with the help of ring buffers. Okay, just type 4 hours CPU history. That's it. You will get plenty of DMVs, sorry, plenty of blocks saying how to make use of it. For example, if I just pick this up, so it will give me 4 hours CPU history. So by this, I will come to know whether SQL Server.exe is the contributor or not. Okay. So as I said, again, you can say monitoring tool. No harm in saying monitoring tool. If he says that his environment is not having money and he cannot afford any monitoring tool and it has to be native from SQL Server, if that is the case, then just say load this I will load this information into a table. Okay, for every, I will create a job and I will load this information into a table so that I know what happened in the past. So by looking into this table, I can say whether the SQL Server is the contributor or something else is the contributor. I'll come to know, right? So that should be our first step when you are dealing with SQL Server.exe. Okay. Okay, I'm just getting some noise. Okay, it's fine now. Now, the second thing is how to identify the queries that is contributing to high CPU usage, right? So definitely if the queries are running, so it will eat some CPU. So you have to find out what are the queries that is contributing to high CPU. So that is our second step. So how will you find out queries that are contributing to high CPU? Just a general question. Leaving out Harsha because he might know these answers. So I would like to know about others.
We can use the SQL Server reports. through activity monitor what is going current activity, like
Yeah.
most expensive query, and we have some DMAs like just dot DM underscore execute query plan and query stats.
Okay. So if
So-
someone asks you, okay, yeah, someone is about to say something. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I mean, we have DMVs, like you said, SP who is active is there.
Yeah.
And so start DM execute request there. I'm going to order it by the CPU time.
Exactly. So just stop there. I mean, so if you can say SP who is active, that is good enough for me. I can order it by CPU because, as I said, SP who is active is a one shop store. You can fetch any information from it. If you just answer me SP who is active, I am satisfied. Okay, if there are any interviewers who is looking after the DMVs, and if they are not allowing SP who is active to run on their systems, if that is the case, then you have to order it by, you have to join a few DMVs. Okay, the main important thing is sysdm exec request. Okay, inside this I have CPU time column, so I have to order by descending. So that I have to do. If someone is looking for DMVs, then this should be our answer. Someone said activity monitor, it's fine because the issue is happening right now. Okay, if that is the case, I will imagine CPU has contributed in the past, not now. Okay, you have to find out the queries that happened in the past. How will you find out that? Again, as I said, monitoring tool. Just say monitoring tool. Past means monitoring tool. Present means SP who is active. Only two things here. Don't give another answers. Okay, past means monitoring tools. Present means SP who is active. That's enough for me. Not at least for me. For most of the interviewers also, that's fine. Okay, now coming back, if someone says, okay, I don't have monitoring tool and I don't know what queries contributed to high CPU. If that is the case, what will be our answers?
So Vamsi, again we have DMB sys.dm query stats, and again I'm going to order it by the CPU time.
So as someone said, so this is the DMV. Of course, it's not possible to remember each and every DMV, but there are few DMVs that we have to remember. Okay, there are very few DMVs that especially I will expect the people to answer. So one such DMV is sysdm exec query stats. Means anything that happened in the past, you can get it from this DMV. Imagine you are on latest versions of SQL. And will there be any technology that can help us to find out the queries that contributed to high CPU in the past? Okay. Okay. Anyone would like to go with?
Sorry, Vamsi, can you please repeat the question?
Okay. I would like to find out the high CPU usage queries that happened in the past. Not using DMVs or not using any monitoring tool. What else can we think of?
No monitoring tool. Actually, in my environment, I generally use the Blitz cache.
That's fine. Blitz cache, Blitz index, those are again some useful SPs that we make use of. There is one important thing that I'm expecting the answer. Reports, no, it happened in the past. Yes, you can find out that.
We can use create customized alerts for this one. Means we can create jobs.
Okay, so come out of that answers. There is one very important technology that is very helpful in these scenarios. What is that?
Query store.
Query store.
Exactly, query store.
Yeah.
Who said query store? Yeah, you got the point. So query store is there from 2016, right? If someone asks you, 1 second, guys. Are you aware of Darwin UK to Azure PID? What is PID? Project identifier, maybe. Okay, so from 2016, if someone is asking you what happened in the past, just keep this answer. Keep this arrow with you. Okay, it's just like an arrow. So you can shoot this arrow when it is required. So that is nothing but query store, because query store will hold all this information and you can check the reports even for months also. It depends upon your configuration. So if you are storing the information within the query store, you can find that information from the query store. So that is what I am expecting. Yes, you can say monitoring tools, that's fine. So if you are appearing for interviews and if someone asks you this question in interviews, so I'm just rephrasing everything. If it is high CPU, first of all, I will check whether the SQL Server.exe is the contributor or not. If it is happening right now, okay, I can check using task manager. I can check from there also. If it happened in the past, then I can make use of monitoring tools, or I can use 4-hour CPU history from ring buffers. In that way, I will find out whether SQL Server.exe is the contributor or not. The next thing, if the queries are happening right now, I can find out the queries with the help of SP who is active or SP blitz. Anything which blitz is nothing but Brentosa tools, scripts. So you can say even those scripts, that is fine. If they are not allowing to run those third-party tools, you can say activity monitor. Of course, I am saying again, I'm against activity monitor. Usually, I will not a big fan, but still you can say there is nothing harm, no harm. So you can say activity monitor, but the best answer is SP who is active, and or else it is system exec request where I am sorting by CPU time. And the same thing, if it happened in the past, if I am on 2016, then I can think of query store. If I'm not on 2016, then I have to use query stats. If I have the monitoring tool, I will make use of monitoring tool. So I have given 3 answers. There is nothing that that we can think of beyond these 3 answers, right? 2014, 2012, you can use query stats or monitoring tool. From 2016, even if you don't have monitoring tool, I can make use of query store.
But
So
query
version wise,
store,
I'm giving.
by default, it is not enabled, I think so, correct?
Yeah, it is not enabled. So it is our duty to enable it.
No, everyone will not agree to enable in all environments.
I agree. So you can see, that's what I'm saying. It may vary from environment to environment, but if you have query store, that is what I'm saying. If you have query store, then I can say query store. So don't ignore that answer. So just pass that answer. Okay, if it is a restriction, that is a different story. That may be in your environment, but you can say in my environment, we are not allowed to run query store, but still there is a technology called as query store from 2016 where I can go back to the history. That is what I'm expecting. Doesn't matter if your environment is not allowing. My environment is allowing that. So if that is the case, I will definitely expect that answer, right? So think about in a broader manner rather than restricting yourself. Okay, so this is how the first 2 steps are. Now the series of answers. So these are all series of answers from Microsoft, not me or someone else. So these are the answers from Microsoft. So they are saying update statistics. So you will run update stats and hopefully it might fix the issue. It might not. Okay, it depends. So you can say I will update the statistics to see if CPU to prevent the CPU usage. That is one answer. Then you can say missing indexes. That is one more answer. So we can discuss many things on this, but I'm just giving you the answers for the moment. So that is one more answer. Finally, what is this parameter sensitive issues? Anyone knows what is this parameter sensitive issues?
Yes. So
Okay.
for example,
No, we'll not discuss because it's a if I start, it will take some time. So when you're answering, how will you prevent CPU issues? So what will be your best answers? So don't go with this answer. I mean, you can talk if you are aware. Parameter sniffing issues, that's a different story. I'm not expecting everyone to be aware of these kind of things. So your smart answers. Let's discuss about smart answers. So first smart answer is identify the queries and update the statistics for them. That is the simple and smart answer. Second thing is, I'm not saying these are right answers. I'm saying these are smart answers. There is a difference, guys. Don't mistake me. I'm not saying these are the right answers. I'm saying smart answers. People who have not worked on it, but still wanted to crack the interviews. This is for them. Okay. So there is a difference. So you can say, I will find out the missing indexes for those expensive queries. And then I will try to work on indexes. That is one thing that you can talk about. Okay. Then you can talk something else. These two answers are quite common because everyone will talk about missing indexes and everyone will say, I will update the stats. Those 2 answers are quite common. If you wanted to differ yourself from others, so what should be our next answers? So these are for 3 years, 4 years, or 5 years. If someone says, okay, I will update the statistics by identifying the top consuming queries and I will add the missing indexes, it's done. Your job is done. I don't expect someone to answer beyond this. If you are in the bucket of 4 to 5, maybe 1 to 5. If you are above 5, maybe 5 to 10. So I might expect something more apart from those 2. So what is that something?
parameterization, Sargability.
So this is parameter sensitive thing. We'll discuss about this later. If you wanted to have some how to investigate this issue and how to what is parameter sensitive, I have a video on it. You can watch that. Ignore this for a moment. Simply, you can say Sargability. So what is Sargability? So again, we'll discuss this later. I'll just keep this for a second. And there is one thing. If someone is running heavy traces, very simple answer. Again, very simple answer, but good answer. Because in what happens in real time is experienced people to troubleshoot some issues, they will run traces. Okay, it might be from extend events, it might be from profiler, it might be from profiler using jobs, whatever it is. If they are running some traces, definitely they are also contributors to high CPU. Okay, so you should not be running traces left and right. You have to have literally good filters on those traces, and it has to be small. If you are running some heavy traces, definitely you are also not you, the guy who is running these traces, he will be a contributor to high CPU usage. So don't ignore this. This is also one more smart answer. And now coming to Sargability. Sargability is very simple answers. If you can say just 2-3 lines with respect to Sargability, you will be, you will have upper hand for sure. So what is Sargability? So if he is aware of that Sargability, you can talk about this. If he is just, if he doesn't know, then it's a different story. So just say, I worked on, this is kind of issues that you have to discuss when you are dealing with performance issues, guys. Okay, if someone is asking you what performance issues that you have worked on, you can again say stories. So here the story starts now. Okay, even if you say update statistics, so if you can come up with a good story, it will be a kind of impressive stuff. I will tell you one story of mine where literally it was one high CPU query, not high CPU query, but it was one of the performance issue where the query was running for 31 minutes. It was expected to run in 15 minutes or so, but it was running for 31 minutes. So I found out the query. Okay. So let's say this is I'm just saying you the answers. You can say the same answer to the interviewers. No problem. So one of the performance issues, what you have worked on. So that is the question, right? Usually they will ask. If that is the case, just say, in my environment, there was one query which was running for 31 minutes. It was expected to complete in 15 to 20 minutes, but it was running for longer duration. So I went and I found out the query because it's a very lengthy store procedure. Imagine in real time, guys, it will not be just few lines of code. It will be plenty of store procedures, and inside the store procedure, there will be some 10,000 lines of code, right? Which code is causing the problem right now? How will you find out that? That is very challenging part, right? So for that also same answer, SP who is active. If you run SP who is active, you will come to know what is that SP and what is that lines of code that is causing the problem. Okay, so you imagine you found out the problem with respect to queries that is causing the problem. And after looking into the query, you found that it is using linked server. Okay, so the stats are up to date on the current server. There is no problem with stats with the current server. Since, as I said, linked server means from A, I will be fetching the information from B. So if the stats are not up to date on B server, then even my A server will get affected. You got my point, right? Getting or not?
Yes, we are getting.
Yes, getting.
Yeah, so problem is on B server. So you don't know about B server. You are just updating the stats on only on A server. Even though the stats are up to date on A server, it doesn't matter because you are fetching the information from B server using linked servers. So you found that linked server, they are using linked servers, and you went into that server and you found the problem of stats being obsolete on B server, not on A server. So you updated the stats on B server and the problem got fixed. Okay, so this is smart answer, right? Everyone will talk about statistics, but if you can present something different from others, that is what matters most to succeed in interviews. So even for statistics, see the answer what I have given. So that is how you should differ from others. Okay, so this is about update stats. So I said to my manager, okay, bro, instead of she's a lady, I said, okay, bro, by mistake. Okay. So I'll say sorry. Okay, next coming to Sargability. Sargability is one thing. You need not say something very internals about Sargability. It's very simple issue. So the name might be daunting, but if I talk about this is very simple issue. So usually, guys, if you are going for interviews, this is for 6 to 10 years. This answer is for 6 to 10 years. Okay, say that you have worked on performance issues. Okay, a small running query, you found out the query and you know where the problem is. So you should say, you can see this query, right? What they have written, select some columns from table name where substring, they are using some function. Okay, some function, and they are finding out the value something like hn. Okay, just say that in your case, there is one problematic SP or problematic query that is running and it is causing high CPU. So I went into that investigation and I found out the query that is causing the high CPU. After investigation, I found that they are using functions to the left-hand side of equality cause. Again, I repeat, I'm repeating again, I'm stressing on this. Please keep, please be very careful. If anyone is using functions in the where class to the left-hand side, only on left-hand side, I'm repeating again and again, only to the left-hand side. So as you can see, this is equality. So to the left-hand side of equality, we are having functions. Any function, it could be date diff, length, reverse, all the SQL native functions, date add, date diff, what can substring, char index, pat index, reverse, length, any function, whatever the function it might be. If you are using functions and on that function, the column, whatever that is there here, what is the column that they are using inside this function? Product number. Okay, imagine this is a very huge table. Production.product is a very huge table, some millions of records, and they are using function to the left hand side of equality operator. Okay, and they are using this column. Imagine you have index on that column. If that is the case, index will not get used. You will always see index scans instead of index seeks. Even though that query is highly selective, even though that query is of highly selective, the index will not come into picture because you are using functions in the where class to the left hand side of equality operator. If that is the case, you will definitely see performance issues. So you just say, I found out this and I asked the developers not to use such functions. You need not explain how to get rid of this, how to rewrite the query. It's not your job. If you are good at developing, yes, you can answer that also, but I'm not going up to that level. So what you can say is, you found the query, you found that they are using functions to the left-hand side of equality operator. If they use functions to the left-hand side of equality operator, even though we have index on that column, it will be of no use because it always goes for scan. Okay, that is what Sargability, one of the examples of Sargability. There are multiple cases, but I'm just talking about the main thing. Okay, did you understand? Did you got it? Did you get it?
Yeah.
Any other questions apart from Harsha?
Yeah,
So just say the simple thing. So if you talk about this, then I will think that, okay, this guy is aware of some good T-SQL tips and tricks. So I feel that, okay, this guy has really worked on environment. Even though I have not worked on environment, doesn't matter. At least simple thing, only one line. What is that one line? I identified the query and I found that they are using functions and they are using functions to the left-hand side of equality operator. So if they use functions, you will always get scan instead of seek, even though that query is highly selective. That's it, game over. Very simple reason, and you will get very good impression. The next use case is something like this. Again, these all categories falls into Sargability. Okay. So if you use like operator, okay, if you use like operator, and if you are using percentage in front of the string, not to the back of the string. Again, I repeat, very careful. When you're answering the questions, you have to answer properly. If you are using percentage, if you are prefixing the percentage to the string, okay, then again it goes into scan only. You will never get seek. This is perfect query. This is fine. There are no problems with this query. But if you are placing your percentage to the front of the query, means if you are prefixing the percentage to the string, that is the case. Again, it will go for scan. It will never go for seek. So that is one more scenario. If you can just say these two examples, I'm satisfied. There are other examples also. I am not expecting all the scenarios. If you can at least say these two examples, I'm done. So these are one of the contributors for high CPU. Very simple examples, right? Any problems with these examples? Can you explain this now to the interviewers? At least I hope so.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay. So tomorrow we will continue what are the other reasons for high CPU, like implicit conversions and how to explain simple examples. I don't want you to give some lengthy examples, just to be smart. Just give simple answers and just project yourself as a smarter person. That's it. So you can see here, right? All these functions: convert, cast, is null, coalesce, whatever the functions that is. So if you're using functions to the left hand side of equality operator, then it will cause some issues. That issue is nothing but sargability. It means it will not make use of scan. It will always go with, it will always go with the scan instead of seek. Okay. So that is one more contributor to high CPU. Any questions till now? So we are closing off.
And I have one. I would like to share one interview question which I faced in for giving an interview for Accenture. So here, system we are facing high CPU. So in that we are having two SQL servers. If you go and check that SQL server in Task Manager, so the name would be like MS SQL Server .exe for both server. How we are going to identify which SQL server is causing high CPU?
Okay, I will
Through
repeat the
process.
question.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know the answer. If you want, I will.
yeah. So as Harsha was saying, so we have two instances, and how will you find out which instance is causing high CPU? So the answer, someone said process identifier. So if you go to your configuration
Yes,
manager,
exactly. Yep.
you will get to see two instances, and along with that you will see PID. They call it as PID. The full form is process identifier. So
Yes.
with this you will come to know. So as of now, both of them, for me, it's in stopped state. If it is running, then you will
Yep.
see some process ID, and with this process ID you can find out what's happening. Okay. So yeah, I think I'm done, guys. So we have some set of questions that we need to discuss in the upcoming classes. So we'll discuss about memory, IO, how to answer the performance issues. Everyone would like to question you about performance issues and would like to know how you are going to explain those scenarios, right? Usually they will touch on performance issues. So I have plenty of performance issues that you can share with the interviewers. Even though you're not worked, just share this story, at least pass the stories. That's it.
Bro, I have one more thing to share. So one of US client is there, and so like he want to improve the one query is taking like for 10 minutes. So I mean the type 3, which is for working from onshore. Okay, he pull all of us India people to work on that. But the unfortunate thing is nobody is aware of that. What we need to. The customer said that I want to implement partition on this. Okay, so like that we came to know, okay, customer is expecting to do the table partitioning on this table. Okay, but nobody are aware that we asked some time. Within the next day, I learned and I implemented partitioning with the query which is taking previously like in 10 minutes, it went to 4 minutes. So after implementing along partitioning along with compression, it went like for 2 minutes. But still customer was not happy. So after doing the query tuning, it went to 10 seconds. So finally, what I understood is if you want to achieve full, I mean, if you want to impress that, I mean, like we want to go to like a database architecture to that level. So query tuning is the last and the finest option to resolve all these issues.
So yeah, I will continue because if you see my videos, let me show you one thing. Where is that? Where is that I wanted to show? Yeah, this one. So I made some performance tuning when I was dealing with Azure classes, guys. So all these are very important. Okay, very important and very helpful, not just for interviews, but also when you are working in real time. For the people who are part of my training, I know that you have these classes with you, but my suggestion is I'm not sure whether you watch these videos or not. At least if you are interested with performance tuning, I mean, in terms of performance tuning, watch this series like performance tuning part 2 and part 1, which will be helpful for you in real time and in interviews to give better answers. Okay. So I just wanted to pass this message to my people. So yeah, thanks guys.
Yeah. Thank you, bro.
I'm
Thank
stopping
you.
now. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.